everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Figure It Out, the show where we are going to sit around and talk about beloved franchises who maybe have seen better years, but are still very near in our hearts. We are going to that galaxy far, far away. But before we do, I'm joined by Mike and Tyler. Guys, how are we doing?
Good.
All right.
Doing good.
Well, let's get right before we get right into it. Quick little order of business. This is at the end of the day. This is a toy and action figure podcast. Guys, do we have any new toys and or action figures?
Tyler, go ahead, man.
Sure. Well, first things first, I have final piece of my Devastator. I got Mixmaster right here. He is the only piece I have been missing from my Devastator, so I have that. Now I'm going to put him together. I will film the unboxing. I'm up in the air of whether or not I'm going to film the transforming of Devastator, because there's people that are going to do that better. But I'm excited to get these all out, build him, and have him and Superion get into some shenanigans. So I'm very excited about that. Next, I have something I'm also excited about. It's a little bit bigger, so hopefully we'll fit it on the camera. That is the All Striker. If anybody doesn't immediately recognize what that is. So we will be doing an unboxing for this as well in the very near future. I'm pretty excited about this. The All Striker is not. It's actually one of the few original G.I. Joe vehicles I don't own. So I never had the All Striker. I'm excited to get that. I'm excited to get the crankcase figure out of here and compare him. He's going to get compared to Clutch because that's just how it's going to be. But I'm excited to get him out of here and do that and get that sucker out on my shelf, joining my other hostile vehicles. Next thing I have is on occasion, I have been known to browse around on the interwebs and stumble onto websites like eBay, and I'll just see something that I'm like, man, I like that. And I'll just throw an offer at a guy. And on occasion, they will accept it. And that's what happened here with my friend Wild Rider. I saw a guy, I saw a listing on eBay, and I was like, I love his alt mode. I'm a fan of that. He's a combiner. I could build a big robot with some of his friends. And I was like, an offer out there, no big deal. This guy's going to turn it down and no big deal. And, I walked away and didn't think about it. And about 45 minutes later, I got a text message notification that my credit card had been charged. And I was like, he accepted. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm going to get him out and transform him. He'll probably be my fodder during meetings tomorrow. I'll be transforming him and enjoying that. So I've looked up the components for Minosaur to build him. Motormaster is too expensive, and I don't want an alt art Optimus Prime. Like, that's kind of sacrilegious to me. And so I don't think I'm going to build Minosaur. I've seen the Minosaur. I went and did some research, obviously, because I'm like, if you guys know me, like I got one piece of a combiner. I must now have all the pieces of the combiner. Unfortunately, I looked up Minosaur and saw, high resolution images of what he looks like when he is combined, and I'm not impressed. It's not great. So fortunately, that cured me of needing to go complete the set there. So probably just going to grab Wild Rider. Might grab one or two others, but definitely not Motormaster and not, I forget what the name of the F1 car is, but I'm definitely not going to grab him because I just don't like those.
Is it drag strip?
It is drag strip. That's right.
Okay.
And that's the other reason I don't like it, because what person takes an F1 car or an Indy car, call it an Indy car if you want, I don't care, and names that bought drag strip? Those cars don't drag race. Those cars race circuits. It's a very different type of racing. It's a whole different thing. Like,
they don't live their life a quarter mile at a time.
That's right. Family and such, The drag strip makes no sense as a name for an F1 car or Indy car. That's very poor. And whoever did that, shame on you. Spend like 30 seconds studying before you pick a name for a transformer like that, please.
Listen, say what you want to about the Buster, but the Buster kept me out of handcuffs.
That's right. That's right.
The Buster didn't run back to the fort. He brought me back. All right, that's enough. That's enough quoting Fast and Furious. We'll be
well.
Here
You do still owe me a 10-second car, but beside that, last one for me. Sorry guys, last one. This is another Big Bad Toy Store actually pre-order for me, and so far they're batting 1,000 for me. I know that they have a history of not doing great. So here's the thing about that I'll tell you guys. And for the fans out there, when you guys are doing it, when somebody's doing it right, I'm going to tell you you're doing it right. And I'm going to give you your kudos and your props and excellent. And when you screw up, I'm going to be just as blunt. Like, hey, There are things that we have obviously on this channel talked about people screwing up, but Big Bad Toy Store for me right now, batting 1,000 on pre-orders. And I got my Punisher from the Daredevil Born Again series, Marvel
man.
Legends.
Isn't that
you
a cool
guys-
fig?
It's a great fig. Big fan of Punisher. Can't wait to get this guy's soft goods trench coat, just like my other John Barenthal Marvel Legends Punisher. And this is the better figure. But if you'll notice, he comes with looks like a Glock handgun and not a 1911. So he loses some points there. But that's okay. We can remedy that in the aftermarket. But other than that, super excited about it. This is a great looking figure. I'm very happy to have it. And shout out to Big Bad Toy Store for delivering on the pre-orders for me. That's it. I'm done.
What do you got, Mike?
So, Hiya Toys, Lady J.
All right.
It kind of took a turn for the packaging, but I mean, it's still intact, unopened. It's just the card isn't as clean as I normally like it. And speaking of that, Ramen Toys, same thing. Poncho Brave Star, really cool figure. It's mint in box, looks really cool. I like the artwork that they did on the inside
art.
cover. Yeah. And the packaging or the shipping with the packaging didn't hold up too great, but it's still in there.
It really surprised me on that too, because they did such a good job
Yeah.
on the vehicles, but
That's
not,
okay.
not great there.
Chewbacca Vintage Collection.
Hey,
Yep. Chewy. Pretty stoked. That's gonna be a good spot in my laundry room. And then more X-Men 97 stuff. The 2-pack
Hey.
of Gambit and Rogue. They gave Gambit or the Rogue the soft good cutoff T-shirt.
Top.
Let me see
is her
Gambit and
figure
Rogue.
is her figure done correctly, or is it X-Men 97?
It's X-Men 97.
Boo.
Yeah.
Can't win them all.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I'm pretty stoked and I'm ready to like stow them. I talked about that already in another episode, how I like to stow them immediately. Man, I pre-ordered his horse 3030 from Ramen. And if the box is quote unquote damaged, I will open both of them.
There you go.
Attaboy.
Because
I mean, even if it's mint, you should I can feel a shift coming. You will be a not mint on card guy before too long.
well, I think I might open more if I think if I have something in soft good in mind. Like with that Brave Star, it wouldn't surprise me if someone did like something with better quality of soft goods than what came with Robin. And that's not a knock on Robin. I haven't seen the poncho outside the case, but I think it could be pretty cool. Like, I've got the Luke in black, the Mando figure with that wired cape or wired cloak and then I've got a poncho Qui-Gon and a hooded robe Plo and a hooded robe white Ahsoka. And those are so cool. I really like them. I like my soft goods, my premium soft goods from Etsy. It just adds a new dynamic and almost tells a story. Because when we saw Luke in black and Mando, that cat wasn't afraid, man. And he had those robots guessing.
No, he just had them dying.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, I'm gonna go. And a while back we played a session of our Transformers RPG, and that got me thinking about a particular Hot Wheel that I saw months ago at the Walmart in our town. It was part of a 5-pack in the Off-Road Adventures thing, and it was a 2020 Toyota Tacoma. It was gray, and it had like yellow, orange, and red lines on it. I was like, that's really cool. I don't need the 4 other ones. I don't even need that one. I'm probably never I'm just going to pass this up. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. So that was months ago. Months pass. We play our little Transformers game. I get to thinking about Hot Wheels and what would be like cool Transformers, and my brain circles back to the Hot Wheel that got away. So very much similar to Tyler, I too perused the interwebs, finding myself over to that internet garage sale, otherwise known as eBay, and I picked it up, and it is here.
Oh yeah.
Beaut.
That's clean.
Yeah. I like that it's not like the granite gray. It's
Yeah.
more like a lighter.
I guess
It really
smoke.
makes it makes the color
Those
work
rims,
like
those rims
pipe.
pop, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's nice little Tacoma.
Well, Paco.
So
Got the
yeah.
PRD colors and everything. That's beautiful.
And then speaking of activities, I recently as well played a Halo Flashpoint tournament in up in the city at Edmond Unplugged. Shout out. If you're ever in town, you need some stuff, check it out. The new ODST box came out, and a couple of the guys I know and play with, they got theirs in the day before the tournament, and I did not get mine. And so I made a list that I'm very comfortable with that hurts a lot because I have a CQB with a gravity hammer, Spartan laser. Like I sling hurt, and because I didn't get my box in before the tournament, and I decided that I was going to make it everybody else's problem. Come home from work today, and I see it, and it came in. So I'm gonna try to get the Halo Flashpoint Feet First into Hell expansion, and really excited to get these guys all painted up and on the table. That's gonna be fun. Already trying to think of like color schemes and camo patterns, but pretty sure that's all I got.
I like that.
So let's move on to liberate a planet. Now, Mike, this one's your idea. So if you could just walk us through kind of what the assignment is.
Okay. So we're going to be liberating Kashyyyk. This is going to take place after the Battle of Endor, and there's going to be a battle to liberate Kashyyyk. It's going to be a big battle against the Galactic Rebellion versus the Empire and, what's left of it. Just a good old battle. The assignment is really just pick a commander and 4 all-stars of the battle. So if you were going to write a comic about it, who would be some of the characters that you would highlight their performance and maybe give them a service medal at the end. But we're going to switch it on its head a little bit, and we're going to let our Empire representative make a team. So it would be Tyler on who he would pick to represent the Empire in this battle with those same guidelines with a commander and then 4 all-stars essentially. So with that, I say we turn it over to Tyler and let him start us off.
Okay. How to do that? So I want to build my list with Empire in mind. We are post Endor, so Vader's dead. The Emperor's dead. There are various things that have happened. We haven't decided. There's not really been a discussion how far post Endor, and that's relevant for one of my picks. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But let's kick it off with my commander, the gentleman who is going to be in charge of the overall battle, the guy that's calling the shots, the head honcho. I am a huge fan of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I'm talking about the original, correct Timothy Zahn, original Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I didn't pick him for this. It was kind of too easy button for me. So my commander is Admiral Paleum, Gilead Paleum. Is my Imperial commander. If you're not familiar with him, then your chances are you're not reading the Star Wars books, the correct Star Wars books that are now called Legends, but are actually, as we all know, the correct timeline of Star Wars post the original trilogy. But Gilead Paleon's a very capable commander, not a guy who just does what he's told. He's not a bootlicker of the Emperor. He does what's correct. He is everything. He embodies everything that's correct about the Empire. He believes in what the Empire is trying to accomplish, unifying the galaxy, fortifying the galaxy, preparing it to face any adversary, and he does it the right way. He's not overly cruel. He's not overly merciful. He's just a very qualified, very skilled, straightforward, excellent admiral, and he's calling the shots for me. He's calling the shots. He's also commanding the fleet in orbit, right? In any of these battles in Star Wars, you're going to have multiple layers. You're going to have the battle in space. You're going to have the battle that exists kind of in space / in the air. Then you're going to have the battle on the ground. So, and some planets, the battle underwater too, right? But anyway, so he's commanding in space. He's my overall commander. He's calling the shots. In the air, the gentleman who's providing air cover, the guy who is commanding the squadrons that are going to provide both the air cover for our ground troops and also provide the snub fighter cover for our beautiful, wonderful, amazing Imperial fleet in orbit around Kashyyyk is going to be Baron Sunterfell. Again, another character that if you don't know who he is, I'm so sorry because you've been reading and consuming all of the wrong Star Wars content, and you should figure that out. And drop a comment if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'll help you out. Sunterfell, commander of the 181st Imperial Fighter Wing, previously known as the 181st Imperial Fighter Wing, until Sunterfell took over and turned them from literally the worst squadron in the entire Empire. And the Empire's a big place. Hard work to suck that bad. Turn them into the best. And so we've got the best and the best of the best flying air cover for both our fleet in orbit and our troops on the ground under the command of Sunterfell. So that's my air, as my space and air. On the ground in command of my armor, because we're going to have armor in this battle. We are, we'll talk about how we're going to facilitate this, because Kashyyyk is a challenging planet. Kashyyyk is a planet of giant trees.
Yes.
They are, you think of the sequoia trees in California, like those are like twigs. These are trees that are bigger at the base than skyscrapers, much taller than skyscrapers. They're massive trees. This is the problem for any kind of mechanized military, because it's not like you can just, it's not wide open plains to just march through. It's going to be a challenge. And so the way that you're going to handle that is you got to be clearing forest as you're moving through. It's going to take some heavy gunnery, some heavy machinery to go do that. We're obviously going to bring armor for close support. Wookiees are terrifying fighters. You're going to need armor. I'm bringing General Beers. There's no reason to bring anybody else. He's the heavy armor guy. He's going to clear the trees. He's going to work on clearing the path as we go in the planet. I'm under no illusions that we're going to wipe out all the trees on the planet, but we are absolutely going to do some clear cutting. And by the way, some of that's already been happening as the Empire consumes the resources of Kashyyyk, including enslaving and taking his people, which I'm opposed to, and so is Admiral Paleon. But anyway, they're in the process of doing that. He's going to come in and really go scorched earth on and really start clearing it out. So wherever there's going to be an important battle, we're going to do our best to take out the trees. And the Wookiee cities also happen to be in the trees, which is a strength and a weakness, because if we don't have to fight them in the trees, we can just cut the trees down or blow them away at the base, and then the cities collapse with them. So anyway, give me Veers, give me firepower, give me heavy armor. I love it. It's amazing. We're here for it. Then I need a commander of my troops on the ground. I need my the guy who's calling the shots for the army, the actual stormtroopers, the Imperial infantry that's going to be required here. It's going to have to be a heck of a commander, because no doubt it's going to be a terrifying thing to go up against a Wookiee in any kind of not necessarily hand to hand, because obviously that would be really bad, but any kind of infantry combat against Wookiees is going to be terrifying and difficult, and you're going to have a hell of a commander to make that happen. Hurst Moody is my guy. Again, maybe you haven't heard of him, because maybe, just maybe, you've been consuming the wrong Star Wars content. Heck of a general, actually has his origins back in the Clone Wars, so he was with the Republic and then remained with the Empire. Tremendously skilled and talented and powerful and well-respected commander and general of infantry troops of the Imperial Army. So I'm taking Moody. And then the one that everybody's going to know who this person is. This is my trump card. This is the person who's setting up the house of cards to fall down in our favor, doing all of the things behind the scenes, spectral ops, covert ops, all the things that you don't know about that actually are absolutely key to bringing the battle to the conclusion, with the victors being the Empire. Mara Jade, the Emperor's Hand. We could talk about Mara Jade, because after the Emperor dies, that's where she starts to deviate from hardcore Imperial loyalist. But this is, in my world, this is close enough to the Battle of Endor. She hasn't done that yet. She's still trying to fight for the dream that is the Empire. She's going to be the one who's sabotaging everything that the armies that you guys are bringing on are going to be trying to set up. That's my list, guys.
Interesting stuff.
I got something for you.
I'm listening. I'm ready.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. We'll save Mike's for last, because I'm sure Mike's list is the correct list, because nobody
I will
lists
say,
Kashyyyk like this
if you
guy.
have Myra Jade on your list, that's okay.
No, I actually don't. I do have what I believe to be a hard counter to Mara Jade. It may even have two. I don't know.
Nice.
So I'm going, instead of a broad strokes, like cover everything from land, sea, and air, as Tyler has done for the Empire, I'm just focusing solely on just like a school, like a fire team of 5.
That's so rebel of you.
I know. So my leader, the one who is taking all of these personalities from different backgrounds and somehow trying to figure out how to liberate this planet, is Callus from Rebels.
Interesting.
He's doing
Agent
that.
Callus.
Interesting.
Agent Callus.
Callus.
Freighter.
Interesting.
Yep.
Freighter Callus.
So Callus, he's former Imperial, so he knows how they operate. He knows how they. Well, at this time, Kashyyyk is already occupied.
Yeah,
So
we're
we're
holding
liberating.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows strategies that the Empire would employ. He knows what they would do, what they wouldn't do, where they would be vulnerable, where they would appear vulnerable but are actually low key really reinforced. He'd be able to navigate all of that. Plus, after what happened to the Lasat or like Zeb's people, like that genocide, seeing that, like being a part of that, and then seeing it also almost happen to the Wookiees, that's gonna like trigger something in him
Oh,
where he's gonna be
man.
like,
Love it.
never
Love it.
again, never
Love it.
again. And
Love it.
so,
I almost picked Callus.
yeah, I'm glad that you did, because
Good stuff.
that would
It was
have
my
thrown me
easy
off.
button.
Yeah, I picked him anyway. Yeah. So Agent Callus is my leader. Next up, I'm going Gunji. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go Gunji I wanted, like, listen, you're not gonna liberate Kashyyyk without having a Wookiee. And Chewbacca, 2 on the nose. Besides, with Chewbacca, you have to have Han Solo. That's 2 slots that I would need to dedicate. Chewie's just gonna have to trust that I'm gonna get this done without him.
Well,
So-
Chewie can still be there. It's just, who's your commander and 4 all-stars
Yeah.
of the battle. Chewie's going to do
So-
Chewie.
So it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do Chewie. I could do Black Chrysanthemum, but there's a different list that I would rather. He's better equipped and he would be more fun for.
Yeah.
So also I like having him in my back pocket, because I really
Absolutely.
like that was like the best part of the Book of Boba Fett was him.
That was literally the only good part of Book of Boba Fett.
So
I don't know. Cad Bane was pretty cool.
Cad Bane was seeing Cad Bane live action. That was
I'll give you that. Cad Bane. I actually forgot Cad Bane showed up in that show, so I'll give you that. Cad Bane's awesome. The bounty hunters are the best part of that show. Sans Boba Fett, because they did a poor job. Excuse me, they did a poor job with him.
So I'm going Gunji because he's already on Kashyyyk. He's probably been doing some force training. He's like, this is the fight he didn't realize that he was born for, but it's time. His people need him. He's going to step up. He's going to step up in a big way to help kind of mediate between Callus's and the rebels' reinforcements to the native, like, Kashyyyk dwellers of, the Wookiees. We're going to need to kind of have a go-between. Somebody who can communicate with Gunji, relay information, but also has a foot in with the rebels. Kind of, I'm going Omega from the
Nice.
Bad Batch, because there was that episode in the Bad Batch where
My
like
favorite
Omega and
episode.
Gunji, yeah, like, so, but by this time she's already she's already a young woman. She's joined the rebellion. She's established. She can help out. So Gunji and Omega are going to be kind of my Han and Chewie fill-ins. So, but now I need some spice. I gotta say, like, I've got it, got some salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic. I need some paprika. I need some Cajun spice. I need some seasoning. I'm gonna go Asajj Ventress.
Interesting.
Going Asajj Ventress, just because, I wanted a lightsaber wielder, somebody who, if an Imperial stormtrooper was downed but not quite out of it yet, would have no qualms about making that happen.
I'm glad you picked her, and I'll tell you why. Because if there's one thing that Star Wars is lacking, it's redemption arcs.
Well, she realized that the Force didn't want her, Dooku didn't want her, the Emperor didn't want her, and the only person that wanted her was Quinlan Vos. So it was more like a love tragedy that is turned into kind of a love story.
Yeah, to be clear, it's an excellent pick. I'm not knocking your pick. I'm just bemoaning the fact that every freaking bad character in Star Wars has to get a redemption arc, and it drives me insane.
I don't feel like it's even a redemption arc. It's just a
it's
going
not.
her
It's-
own way arc.
Yeah, well, the dark side did a Fleetwood Mac on her. They went their own way.
Yeah.
But she could still be she could have pursued the Sith route. And
To what end though? Like that's
she wouldn't have had a master. Like she
well,
could
that's
have
the end that the
picked an
Sith always
apprentice.
pursued. Yeah, or she could have been a master. She could have killed Dooku.
It's
She
just-
could have tried to kill. She couldn't
Well,
kill Dooku. 'Cause
the
he was
thing
The
dead.
Sith
about it
route is
is
always go for it.
when the dark side cut ties with you because of that, always a master, always an apprentice. Like what happened to Darth Maul? Like once Emperor Palpatine chose Dooku, like what happened? Like Darth Maul.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
he
but
didn't.
you
He
gotta
didn't
be
have
the-
a good
that's-
road.
But that's why the Sith are such a good enemy, because they literally they
Yeah.
will cull their own until the absolute best of the best of the best are left. So if she fell
Yeah.
short, it's because she was not good enough, and
No.
that's why she fell short.
It's because she was a pawn, and once she
Yeah.
realized she was a pawn, it's like going to a magic show, but being behind the card and seeing that it leads, it's a nowhere road and it leads to nothing,
Yeah.
if at all, because you probably wind up just getting unalived at some point by some Jedi. So you
It's
know
like
that's
there's a cap on how much
Or-
dark side they can wield.
Or hear me out. You secretly get yourself elected to the Senate and build an army of the Republic, which you then use to take control of the government. and
that'd
then-
never work.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you just saying.
That would never.
Just
Lightning
saying.
doesn't strike
Well-
twice. So speaking, but anyway, back to Asajj Ventress. So she would do this because she, like, the way in my head that I see it is she really doesn't care about Kashyyyk being liberated. She doesn't really care about any of that. However, she's getting paid handsomely and also get a chance to kind of stick it to the Empire. But there's something pulling her towards Kashyyyk. And on Kashyyyk, she is going to have a reunion with Quinlan Voss, who just so happened to be there. Although he's not part of my list though, but he's going to be there. And if they have like a two ships passing in the cosmos moment where like they see each other, they know that each other's alive, but they know that they can't be together. That's one thing. Star-crossed lovers, across the star-crossed lovers, or
Heck yeah.
they wind up, just a couple
Taking
kids.
their fat stacks of credits and going their way.
Yeah, like they could run off together. Like it's Star
There's
Wars.
nothing
Like,
wrong
it's-
with a happy ending, right?
There's nothing. Yeah, let's do the mega happy ending from Wayne's World. Like we'll do it up. But
Heck yeah, love it.
so that's my Asajj Ventress. My final pick, and I would argue that was the soft counter to Mara Jade. Here's my hard counter to Mara Jade.
Jeez.
Galen Merrick, aka Starkiller. I'm pulling that because don't know if y'all remember, but the first time we ever see little baby Galen Merrick, he is but a baby on Kashyyyk as it's being conquered by Darth Vader at the end of the Clone Wars, and his dad / Jedi, whoever, Guardian at some point, is killed by Darth Vader. Sorry, unalived. Sorry, YouTube. Is unalived by Darth Vader, and little baby Galen picks up the lightsaber and is holding it at Vader's feet, trying to hurt him. And instead of pulling an Anakin in Jedi Temple, he's like, you know what? I'm going to train this kid. But all of that happened on Kashyyyk. So I feel like it is pretty fitting that he returns back to where it all started to set things
That's good
right.
stuff.
I was prepared to tell you whoever you picked as a hard counter to Mara Jade, unless it was Luke, was no. And you have changed my mind. Starkiller is a chef's kiss, excellent choice. Of course, personally, I played him the correct way, which is the dark side.
See,
route.
and that's like watching, like playing through that game. Like I couldn't, like once I got to the scene where they're in Donkey Bay 94 on Tatooine and Galen Merrick tosses Ben Kenobi into the Millennium Falcon's engines and like disintegrate him. I was like, this is abhorrent. And I was like, this feels like Star Wars written by George R.R. Martin. But then again, George R.R. Martin would have to write. And then seeing Luke turn himself to the dark side at Hoth, to like, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
It's
It's a wonderful
awful.
story.
It's abhorrent. And there's a
It's a
reason
wonderful
it's
story.
considered Legends now, because Starkiller in the actual Star Wars universe, not in a video game, in its own pocket dimension, it doesn't work. Get that.
Yeah.
However, I can do what I want now.
No, yeah, that's an excellent dude. Excellent choice. Big Star Killer fan.
Excellent list.
My
Very
all
good
time
list.
favorite lightsaber. Great list. Agreed. A Jedi that can literally pull a Star Destroyer out of space and crash into a planet. That's a little bit game breaking in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
So he's his own thing, but I agree. 100% works here. Fair game. Excellent choice. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. I really like your list. I have like
I'm sure there's a lot. I figured there's like a lot of crossover with your list.
Oh man, your list
But-
is so good, man, and you used a lot of folks I wanted to use, but I wanted to save. So, let's get to my list and my
Yep.
commander. This was tempting to not use her quite yet, because, like I said in our toys in the trenches, I used to pair her up with Chewie a lot, but I chose Leia as my commander just because it's like I could see her really as a commander being strategic. Plus, you know, her connection to Chewie, she would want to help Chewie liberate his people. So I picked Leia in this spot. She was a contributor to Battle of Endor, so her name is growing. My second pick was I needed a Wookie, and I would have Chewie there, but I didn't want to use Chewie, so I would just say Chewie participates in the battle and does Chewie things, but he wouldn't win the award. The award would go to Gunji, just because the way I would write this is Gunji, he would use the Force to communicate to Leia, and that would kind of let Leia know, like, hey, I am Force sensitive. You know, I wouldn't do the whole Mary Poppins in space thing, but just letting her know that someone else besides Luke is telling her, like, hey, you are Force sensitive because we can communicate without any kind of an interpreter. I don't know if the Force can do that. I imagine it can, but I would use Gunji. You know, he knows the landscape. What Joseph said about Omega and him having that connection makes complete sense to me. I almost used Omega, but the animated universe is kind of my easy button, and I wanted to challenge myself and save them for later because apparently I'm selfish. So I chose Gunji for that. So I needed someone that, because my thinking would be there would be a lot of lats because it's low altitude, because you're not going to be able to have high altitude fights in Kashyyyk, just because of the size of the trees. So there's no like Rogue One Antok Merrick blazing in for the Empire. So it would be a lot of low altitude. And I also wanted someone that was a defector, Battle of Endor veteran, but for the other side. So he would know the jungle like environment tactics of the Empire. I chose Del Mico because I also wanted a sniper. I wanted someone that could, you know, those lats come in and hover, and he could take out two or three of them before they even get their foot on the soil.
That lists are full of traitors, boys.
And the way I would write him is I would say Leia is telling him to do your worst. That's your rules of engagement. Just be unkillable, and just, you don't belong to a squadron. You're just your own entity. Just go hunt, be a predator. And that's how I would write him. I would essentially write him like he gets there like crazy early, and kind of like the ending of, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. This is going to show my age, but Next of Kin, where Patrick Swayze kind of lays out the land in his favor with like crossbows and all that stuff. Well, that would be Del Mico, except it would be just a sniper rifle and just his kit, right? Like he would just be that, because in my mind, this is how my tier of soldier goes. You've got the rebels, right? Which they're just people that's had enough and they've got nothing to do and probably lost everything from the Empire. So they say, hey, I'm going to go join the army. Well, they're not as experienced as the Empire, right? So now you have the Empire, who has better training, better equipment, better armor. So now, in order to get above them, you would need the Special Forces squad from the Empire. And that's where Del Mico would fit. What could Del Mico do against those Empire soldiers with the terrain and preparation in his belt? I know he dies in the expansion of Battlefield, but you know what? That doesn't mean that you can't get him over in this scenario, because this is like open terrain sniper. You could do some work with him, and he would just be that like guy by himself, and just that solo soldier that just goes around and just rocks everyone. I think that would be kind of the fun story. It would be a lot of thought bubbles, you know, because he would be going, you know, coming to terms with, you know, where he's at now and why the Empire failed him and just how he was wrong, and things like that. Not just, you know, you got to see why he turned, but this could be some of that internal conflict. And then, you know, he would wonder why Luke Skywalker didn't kill him.
Well, also you could, I was thinking about that. You could pay that level off by when he shows up and is greeted by Leia, and she's like, you know, like, what are you doing here? And he tells her that story of being on the planet, and then this Jedi with a green lightsaber showed up, could have ended him there, but didn't. They actually worked together and encouraged him to make a choice to choose to be better.
Yeah.
And then she'd just be like, yeah, that was my brother. And then it would probably, honestly, I could see it freaking him out at first and being like, what?
Yeah.
This was a setup. Like, I was manipulated. But then, you know, she tries to maybe explain a little bit of the Force. They're just like, I'm no expert yet, but the way I understand it is nothing happens by accident, etc., etc. And that would
Yeah,
also
exactly.
pay off that level, and
So it
that'd
would
be
be, it would be Del Mico. I would just have him being just a hunter, but you know, for a cause that he believes in now, for something that he feels a part of now. You know, he does love someone now. Like, he's starting to be more human, but he's doing this like borderline predatory like activity. You know, I think
cool.
that would be really cool.
As long as you don't have Leia sit him down and bury him in bureaucratic paperwork and tell him that this is the rebellion, you're not going to get to just go hunt people like we have rules here.
That's
And then
going to be the opposite of what Leia tells him.
But then in the last like 10 minutes of the movie, be like, what are you still doing here? Go do what you do and go hunt people in the forest. Because who would do that?
He would
Ryan
be the best
Johnson
soldier on the planet, arguably. There could be a case where he was the best soldier on the planet.
I was just saying, because that's exactly what she did to Poe Dameron in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That Leia was not my Leia at all.
I'm Leia Poppins, y'all.
Yeah. Golly.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, next. I got to get that. Sorry, Tyler.
Yep. That's okay. No, those are all, those characters are all broken. They're all broken. They're just,
yeah. Okay.
Everybody involved with that should be ashamed of themselves.
They should. They should. Especially Ryan Johnson.
100%.
Fourth one. And so I've got the commander. I've got, you know, what I consider like an X factor, like the leader of the Wookiees, and my Jedi. I wouldn't say he is a hard counter to Mara Jade, but he's definitely like front and center. But my fourth one is Commander Wolf, because I need just some old soldier. You know, it might be one of those like the last ride, you know, because old soldiers train young soldiers, and sometimes young soldiers make mistakes and there's consequences, right? So I would write it as he would know the soldier made a mistake, but then take the consequences himself at the end. And that's why he would get that medal, you know? So his act of like training, you know, like, hey, let's not do that. Let's not go here. This is going to be full of stormtroopers. Let's not go into this trap. This is an obvious trap. And then everyone kind of dismisses what he says, and they go off anyway. And then he would come in and save them, but then die at the end. So that's what I would do with Commander Wolf, or I might just, you know, have his leadership just kind of be there, and they give him his own little platoon, and just he goes, their group is the tightest, you know, so, and they do a lot of the work. So with an old soldier like that, it would give me some tools and I could decide what to do with it. Killing a character like Wolf, you know, has some gravitas, and if I did it, I would want it to reverberate and have some meaning, because I don't like it when you kill a named character and it's just, All right, like small. I call it the Smallville disease, where it's someone dies and then the next episode they don't even talk about it. It's just let's move on. I don't like that, so I would want it to have some gravitas. What do y'all think about that?
I think it's good. You said that was your counter for Mara Jade, and I love Commander Wolf.
No, Gunji would
I
that
don't-
was
okay.
Gunji. Yeah, Gunji. But like when I say Gunji as my counter, I would just add the caveat of plus an army.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have a,
Like I'm not
Yeah.
going to fight her alone,
Yeah.
well, she's not going to,
and
Again,
she's not going to
Emperor's
put
hand-
herself in that position.
yeah, Emperor's Hand Mara Jade is not going to come stand toe to toe with you and fight you unless you absolutely corner her. She has no choice. She's going to do the underhanded, behind the scenes spy crap. She's
Yeah.
going to try to kill you and you never know she's there. That's
But
her.
I'm not crazy enough to think Gunji would one-on-one Mara Jade. I think the Legends people would track my house down and do unspeakable things to or on it. So
Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, you can have Gunji fight Mara Jade. It's just
Just
Gunji's
wouldn't
not
be
walking
allowed.
out of that.
Yeah, he's not going to live, especially
Yeah.
Emperor's Hand Mara Jade. Like, there's no mercy here. He's just going to,
yeah,
Genji's just going to die.
I wouldn't.
But
But even if I did, it wouldn't be alone. She would tactically retreat. And my last person, I completely made it up because I think it's
Okay.
important to have new characters and your IPs. If you're not creating new folks, it can become stale. So I made this character up called Rinda Karn, female, kind of new, doesn't know what her speciality is going to be, but then how she would get her accommodation is she would finally realize what her speciality would be. That'd be kind of her arc in that comic line. I wanted to save some folks. I don't know how many of the Star Wars things we're doing. I also wanted to challenge myself of not hitting like my easy buttons. I felt with Gunji, that was an obvious pick because I mean, dude's on Kashyyyk already, and he's a Jedi, so I need him to get up in those ATSTs and kill me some General Veers. But that's my list. What do y'all
Good.
think?
That's a fun list. I wonder. I like the Del. I like the Del and Leia
Yeah,
payoff for the Luke level, because that might be peak
might-
Luke Skywalker writing.
that
Yep.
was.
I can see that. Yep. That's good.
Well,
So
That's good. Solid.
does any of our list compare to what you got going on? Could we do anything against your list, Tyler? Could we move the needle?
Sure. Joe's got a guy that can pull Star Destroyers out of orbit. That's hard to counter. Now, he can't do that on Kashyyyk because if he crashes a Star Destroyer into the planet, he's going to do way more harm than good. But
yeah.
that level of power, you must always respect that. I think you guys are probably deeper in the animation than I am. I know enough about Agent Callus to know that he's a traitor. I don't know about him as a tactician. Based on how you guys spoke about him, I'm going to assume he's highly qualified. And so there's a really good, very powerful list that Joe's assembled. Asajj Ventress, obviously a powerful character in Star Wars. I mean, this is the universal rule of mercenaries, right? Like if you hire mercenaries to do a job, how do you know for sure that somebody else isn't going to pay him more money to work against you? And I don't know we'll call her not a redeemed Asajj Ventress, but a changed Asajj Ventress. I'm not sure where her loyalties lie there. Could she be bought?
Hates the Empire. She
Okay.
hates the Empire.
Okay, so she can't be bought by the Empire. Okay, so fair enough. So I think that's a really good list. Obviously, super powerful. Mike, your list is fantastic. You just don't. This is Star Wars. Okay, let's remember this is Star Wars. This is what Star Wars is supposed to be. You don't ever want to find yourself on the opposite side of something than a Skywalker. Like you don't want to be on the opposite side of a Skywalker in Star Wars in anything. So when you come out there with Leia, it's like, okay, at that time in what my historical documents, Leia is very much a diplomat. She's trying to put together and create this thing called the New Republic. I'd be interested to see what she did as a commander. Obviously, we saw what she did in the sequel trilogy, which I think is nothing like what would really happen with the true Leia. So I think that would be a fantastic thing to go explore. I think you would get to see a side of Leia that you don't necessarily, I would even argue maybe we haven't seen, is a properly written Leia actually stepping aside from the diplomatic role and moving into a military leadership role in the rebellion / the burgeoning New Republic. I think that'd be a fantastic arc to explore.
Yeah.
And again, it's a freaking Skywalker. Don't go against
Well,
Skywalkers.
It would be, except the sequel trilogy tried to do that, but they overcorrected, and they just glazed Leia, where they didn't even refer to her as a diplomat. She just, that's General Organa.
Yeah.
It's like,
The
it's,
sequel
and
trilogy
it's-
was
yeah, it's a really expensive fanfic, but at the end of the day, it's not Star Wars.
definitely not.
Disney and their lawyer and Lucasfilm's lawyers can come by and be like, you are court-ordered to say that this is Star Wars. It's like, no. And also, like, Legends of Star Wars. You know, George Lucas, like 1 through 6 is Star Wars. Rogue One is Star Wars.
So you guys both
like,
had
Rogue One is
Rogue One is amazing.
Solid,
Star Wars.
solid chunks of Solo is Star Wars.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to argue Andor is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I watched the first 3 episodes, and I couldn't do
how you go
couldn't
from
do it
good to
anymore.
great is not what you have in it. It's what you cut. There was a lot of stuff that should have been cut.
It's like
I love Andor.
it's like it's like when Ron Howard was gonna direct Solo, and he reached out to George Lucas, and he was like, "Hey, Lucasfilm hired me to do the Solo movie. Do you have any advice for playing in your toy box, basically?" And George Lucas told him very plainly. He just said, "Remember, Ron, these movies are made for 12-year-old boys." And like Tony Gilroy, like, I love Rogue One. Tony Gilroy writes like television shows and films. Star Wars is movie, and there's a difference.
So let me ask you guys this.
Although
Gunji
here's the thing, though, Space Buick is a Space Buick, and I'll
Yeah.
stand for that. Like, that's fun. That's just good. That's just fun, solid.
I have a lot of beef with the Solo movie. I think if it wasn't Solo, if it wasn't Han Solo, I think it would have been a tremendous movie. Like that's the only thing you need to change is don't use the Millennium Falcon. Don't use Lando if you want to. I don't care, but don't use the Millennium Falcon. Don't use Han Solo. Make it somebody else, and it's a great movie.
So
in my opinion.
I used to actually really not like the Solo movie, but I was really rummaged hard to find things that I liked about it or even remembered, because the first time I saw it was a very forgettable movie. But then I watched the Snake Eyes origin movie, and
oh my gosh,
like
we're going from like the sequel trilogy to now Snake Eyes, dude.
I know. Well, listen, just real quick,
Stop.
because all of the things that you would expect a Snake Eyes origin movie, like all of the boxes that needed to be checked for a Snake Eyes origin movie to be proper, like they didn't do it. Or if they did do it, it was like haphazard, and it was
a
rang
Storm
false.
Shadow origin movie.
Yeah, it rang false. It wasn't Snake Eyes. And then while I remember being in the theater, watching this movie and thinking back to Solo, it's like, of a Han Solo origin movie, it's got to have him leave Corellia, have him join the Empire, have him get kicked out of the Empire, have him meet Chewie, have him meet Lando, have him gamble for the Falcon, and cherry on top, the Kessel Run, doing it in less than 12 parsecs.
Yeah.
Like, it checks off all the boxes, and it's like, you know what? There was an attempt, and that I appreciate the effort. Also giving a shout out to your Imperial boys. Those mud troopers, that whole sequence was.
I want to see. Give me a movie of just that battle. Give me a Saving Private Ryan in that freaking universe, in that planet, on that battle. It would be amazing. Like, show me an actual, full length battle there.
So speaking of mud troopers, apparently a little bit of crossover. Apparently, mud troopers are coming to Star Wars Legion. That's not going to be the thing to get me to play, but I thought it was cool.
I love the aesthetic of it. I love the battle. I love the frontline combat. It really very reminded me a lot of what you would see in like World War I type of trench combat. That's what that reminded me of, and I love that. I want to see that so bad. The mud troopers themselves, I think the uniforms are just stupid looking, so I don't like the way they look. But I love that battle. So mud troopers for me don't do anything as far as for bringing me back in. Only other thing I want to mention, then I'll shut up. On the Solo movie, you also need to swap out hyperfuel for Bacta. the incredibly
it up.
rare, highly sought after universe, a resource that they created for that movie that never existed in Star Wars in any other format anywhere, that you would have 100% heard about, because the rebellion would always have been short on this stuff, is already there. It's called back to it's already there. You don't have to create that. Just go back to the historical documents and use it. So anyway,
Well-
sorry. That's
Well, even if
Okay.
you don't want to use Bactia, you could do the Tabana gas, because that's what
could do
they
that.
mine. That's what they mined on Bespin. So like that was
100%.
already pre-established, and there's already set up because it's Lando.
100%. That'd be great too. Either one of those I would accept.
All right, Tyler, you're
create
going to
some
add
BS.
something about Gunji.
Not as familiar with Genji. Is Genji? Where do we get introduced to Genji? Is this I know you guys mentioned a few Bad Batch folks. I'll be honest with you guys.
Clone Wars.
I watched. Okay,
Yeah.
I watched a couple episodes of Bad Batch, and couldn't get into it.
Sure.
So I was like, nah, I can't do this. So
Yeah, you could get into Andor.
yeah.
Okay,
Listen, yeah,
different
I
strokes
could.
for different
Well,
folks, man.
Yeah,
it makes
well-
sense because the Empire was winning in Andor.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not sure that's why I like it. I like the gritty nature and the, here's what I love about Andor. Let me just, I can lay this out for you guys. When you meet Andor in Rogue One, this dude, he's a rebel, but he is exactly what the rebels would have legitimately had to be in this universe to do this. He is a terrorist, and he's okay with being a terrorist. And he behaves and does all the things that a terrorist does. And you can see that it's broken him down. Like, he doesn't love that this is who he is, but he 100% believes this is who he has to be to further a cause, which by the time you meet him in Solo, he's pretty much given up on. They don't really believe they can pull this off. He's just kind of, at that point, he's just doing what he's always done. And what I like about the Andor show is you see kind of the other side of that, where there's a guy who's got a little bit of optimism moving, and you see him moving into the rebellion and starting to join this cause that he now believes in. And I like that. I really like to see that. I loved his character in Rogue One. And I love seeing an origin story that I think personally makes sense for his character that he becomes in Rogue One. He's not, by the way, he's not a Saw Gerrera level guy, right? But he's heading that direction. Like, when you meet him in Rogue One, he's heading that direction. He's going down the path of.
I think what Andor does a good job of is showing how the rebels get organized, and that's the difference between just local pockets and like someone that has like a bigger scheme. And that's what the Empire didn't want. They didn't want things to get across the galaxy, because they could snuff out something local. And that's what Andor did. He went to other planets doing missions. So he was taking those calculated risks.
Well, and Luthen also is a character from Andor that I really enjoy. I like his character. I like the way that they wrote him in, and I also love his ship, and the fight with him and the it's not an interdictor, but it's a
Can we just
I
call
forget
it
what
the space Buick?
you could call it the space Buick, that he's flying. There's a great scene with him fighting the TIE fighters and escaping this Imperial, it's not a blockade, but he's basically been pulled over and he's going to have to escape. And they come up with some really cool gimmicks for how he escapes. One of them is incredibly stupid. Okay. And that's okay. This is sci-fi, it's a pretend universe, but a majority of them are pretty cool.
Is it driving through hyperspace through a ship and breaking it apart?
No. And that's what I'm getting at. They actually, whoever did that said, okay, we're not going to do something that totally breaks the universe. We're going to do something that's cool, that makes sense, but it's not going to break the universe. And it's not a freaking capital. Yeah. This is a small, mid-size, like think like Coast Guard cutter type class of ship that he's interacting with his ship. This is it's this massive universe condensed down to what would, one guy kind of facing off against an Imperial ship that's crewed by, I don't know, 20 people or something. That's a lot more realistic. And anyway, things like that really make me enjoy Andor. And so I enjoy it. But anyway, we could go on about this for a long time. That may be another episode at some point in time. But I've watched all of Clone Wars, but I don't remember Gunji all that much. I think, is Gunji the one that has the wood lightsaber?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where I know Gunji from. Back in the day, one of my hobbies was to build prop lightsabers, and I actually had my stepdad mill out a piece of wood for me to build it wasn't going to be a copy of a Gunji lightsaber, but he gave me the idea to be like, hey, I can actually make a hilt out of wood. Like, this would be great.
That's awesome.
And anyway, So anyway, I knew I was saying I know, but I just can't place it. So that was my question. So anyway, I think you guys' lists are great. I think they'd be, I think it'd be I think it'd be a tough battle to answer your question. Like, I don't know that I'm going to sit here and tell you what the outcome would be one way or the other, but I think it would be close, in my opinion, either way.
Regardless, it would be fun, which at the end of the day, that's all Star Wars is supposed to be. So on that note, let's turn it over to you guys. Pick a list, five people from the Star Wars universe. Who are you liberating? Who are you occupying Kashyyyk with? Let us know in the comments. And as far as that goes, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. I've been Joe. With me as always, Mike and Tyler. When it comes to the liberation of Kashyyyk, you guys helped us figure it out. Take care. Bye.
Later, y'all.
That
Skibbity Toilet Ohio Riz.